Good evening. This is the October 6, 2021 meeting of the Planning Board. Matt?
Okay, let me share my screen real quick. So the first item under recess matters is a final subdivision number 1180, Old Dock Land Division in Kings Park.
Is there anyone who would like to be heard on this matter? Are there any questions from the board on this matter? Hearing none, I move that we recess item 1 as read.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? The motion is adopted.
Okay, the next item is permission to build on an unimproved paper street on Osgood Place in Smithtown. This was recessed from last hearing. So I guess before if the board has any questions for the applicant, if the applicant wants to speak first. If not, we can open it up to the public. The way we can do this is at the bottom of your screen, you see a smiley face that says reactions, and you'll click raise hand. And then from there, the host of the meeting will ask you to unmute yourself and then you can speak. So take it away, Barbara.
So you're not going to read the whole memo, right, Matt?
Not again. No, we already did last time.
Okay, thanks, Matt. Appreciate it. Is there anyone here virtually who would like to be heard on this matter?
Do me a favor?
Yes?
Can I have the black glasses out of there?
All right. Is there anyone representing the applicant who would like to be heard in this matter?
So you have to unmute.
Thank you.
You have to unmute Peter Rasso.
Hang on 1 second, sir. Mr. Rasso?
Yeah, yes, I'm trying to unmute. Okay, it unmuted.
We can hear you.
I'm fine, yeah. I have nothing really to say. I'm just hoping that this thing can go through.
Okay, Mr. Rasso. Is there anyone present virtually who would like to speak on this matter?
If you want to raise your hand, we can see you on the video, or if you want to hit the reactions button on the bottom, it'll hit raise hand. You want to start with Kathleen Bolin. Looks like there's 2 videos. I guess you can pick which one you want.
If anyone is going to be speaking virtually, please state your name and address for the record.
You want to unmute?
Is there anybody who would wish to speak on this?
Kathy, do you see Kathy's iPhone?
I do see. Yes, I asked her to unmute.
Can you hear me?
Oh,
Yes.
Okay.
There we go. Thank you.
All right. My name is Kathleen Scott, 52 Signet Drive, Smithtown, New York. We had forwarded a letter to the board with regard to this. My husband and I have a few questions. We had asked about,
Make sure they don't hear you.
can you still hear, right?
Yes, we can hear you.
We were asking about the why they were doing the driveway offset, not down the center of it, and why one driveway was being left instead of just centering it and creating one driveway, why they were having 2 driveways. We were asking also the responsibilities on the municipalities, snow, garbage, recycle, repair, any liability issues. The other issue was because it's being offset, we have concerns that trees, the root structure. And again, we were also asking about the ownership of the property and to know what's going to happen in the future when we attempt to develop the 3 plots we have abutting it.
Mr. Collado, would you like to refer to the?
Yeah, usually responsibilities on the owners using it. the petitioner is proposing it to be on that side of the paper street, obviously because there's an existing driveway. I don't think there's a requirement that says it needs to be on center, but it's up to the board if they want to keep it in the location or move it to the center. It's up to the board. I don't know if I guess snow removal, again, whoever is using it probably is going to be responsible for snow removal. How it affects development of your property. They are providing access to your property. So if anything, I think it's helping you, because if they weren't doing it and you wanted to develop the property, then you would be constructing this road. So that's it. I think you had questions on your letter about abandoning the remaining undeveloped paper road. I mean, if people want to abandon it, they can submit paperwork to do so if they want to in the future.
And see, that's what confuses me, is that I thought this was town property, correct? The road?
No, it's not necessarily the town's property.
It's not town property. It's just it's a paper street at this point, or a paper road, but it's not town property.
So then with the paper road, wouldn't it just go 50% to each property that abuts it?
Only if they abandon it. They're not abandoning it. They're trying to put the road in.
Right, but the road is being offset. So the one property that already developed their driveway is they're maintaining and keeping a driveway. Then another
It's still
property.
going to be 50. It's going to be 50 feet.
Pardon me?
It's 50 feet. I mean, it's not going to be any more than the 50 feet. It's offset because that's how it was submitted, but it's not going to affect your, I mean, it probably, as I look at it, it probably improve your property. You'd have access to going up along your property if you wanted to put if you wanted to develop the property. But it's not going to be the town's property. I mean, it's going to be private. It's going to be whoever uses it's going to have the liability, snow removal, repairing the road, putting the road in.
May I speak or?
Yeah.
Yes, you just got to state your name.
Walter Scott, 52 Signet Drive, Smithtown, New York. The way the proposal is, it's a 50-foot, I guess, right of way, but they're only proposing to put in a 16-foot wide roadway with a 7-inch curb on each side. So that comes out to a 17-foot, 2-inch roadway with the curbing. Now, that's going to be offset and only have a 6-foot difference between my property, which would be the west side of Owsley Place, and the east side of the proposed roadway. There would be a vacant spot of 26 feet and 8 inches. So my question is, why does one side of the roadway come within 6 feet of my property and the other side is a 26-foot, 8-inch gap?
Well, as was just read, at the last meeting, the road is positioned on the west side of the paper street in order to avoid an existing gravel driveway located in the paper street, providing access to 18 Waverly Avenue. So in order to not touch that driveway, that's the reason why the road is going to be positioned on that side of the road.
But what
Side of
property?
that's the paper street. Does that answer your question?
But that driveway was constructed on the paper street? The existing,
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
but whose property is that?
The existing gravel driveway right now
Yes.
is owned by the person who lives at 18 Waverly Avenue.
But it's on the 50-foot right of way though, correct?
Yeah, it's within the paper street.
So my question is, why wouldn't one driveway be suffice for each of the houses? Why wouldn't they be able to just center the new proposed driveway, center it? The 18 Waverly would still have access, and then the additional house that they're building behind 18 Waverly would also have access. But it also doesn't offset it that in the future, if we develop the 3 plots on the other side of the road, there'd be no issue. Because if you're saying that 18 Waverly, that other driveway is theirs, and now this other driveway we have to ask permission to use, there's no more space for a third driveway for the 3 houses that he could build. Do you understand the concern?
Mr. Collado, can you explain Ms. Scott saying that they have to ask permission to use that new driveway that's going to be built? They don't have to ask permission. That's going to be part of the.
Yeah, they're allowed to use it. The driveway for 18 Waverly's been there for years. I looked at aerials from the 60s. Whether it's supposed to be there or not, I guess is, a question that I don't have the answer to. This road that he's petitioning to build, we have a record of it. It's an application. He's petitioning to build this road. So yes, other properties are allowed to use it. As I mentioned in my memo, you have the one property that is on the corner of Waverly and Osgood. It probably makes sense to have that come off of Waverly. And then you have 2 parcels, an 8,000 and a 4,000 square foot lot that could probably yield 1 house on it. If you want to get 2, you're probably going to need some substantial variances to do so. So I could see a maximum of 2 houses using this driveway, including the petitioner's house.
So you're saying I'm sorry, I don't know which memo you just referenced because I didn't receive one.
Yeah, the one I read in last meetings.
Okay. Just want to make sure it wasn't other. So you're saying even though there's 3 plots of land on the other side of the roadway, you're saying that only 1 house could be built there?
Well, I'm looking at it. You're in R10 zoning, which requires 10,000 square feet. So you have a 4,000 and an 8,000. So you, as of right, you need variances in order to build on those. So you'd have to apply for those, and I have no idea if that would be granted. You have the health department. I'm just going off of what is happening on the other side of the street. The guy took 2 6,000s and combined them for 12,000 to meet the minimum lot area. So you might have to be doing the same exact thing. Just because you have a lot doesn't make it buildable.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just trying to figure out, because I just don't want to, it's not that we have an issue with them opening up the roadway. That's not a problem at all. It's just that by offsetting it, we have concerns because as you say, we're free to use this new driveway that's there, but there's an existing one that has not been the case. And,
right.
I just don't want future issue like that. So that's
there won't, because it's on the record and we conditioned it. Let me pull it up real quick. Well, they need to get a road opening permit from the highway department. So we have a permit for that. And I conditioned it that the private road is not for exclusive use of any homeowner.
But yet, is that existing driveway that's already there now, is that exclusive?
I think it was a dirt driveway that I guess over time somebody put gravel on it and they've been using it as theirs, but there was no application like this for approval on that. I think that house is pretty old. It's probably one of the original homes in the neighborhood, and they probably just assumed it was their property.
Well, no, I believe they always knew that it wasn't theirs, and that's why they had an issue whenever anybody made any movement toward developing any of the properties behind them. But
it's been known to people in the neighborhood since, well, I was born in the 60s, that was
a paper street
property, but that's where I grew up.
So now if another house, so even if it's one other house, you're saying that the driveway that they're putting in, it just, I guess the wording too is offsetting to us because it says driveway. And when you look at the plans, it's one driveway and another driveway. And I know that you're saying you're putting the conditions, but it almost looks like these are private issues for each of those property owners. Those driveways would be substantiated. It wouldn't, as another residence being built, that's still going to be large enough and accommodate.
Yes.
That's what they're petitioning. If you want to file, if you want to work with them to make it larger, you can. This is what's before the board. They can only review what's before them. So,
what happens in the future if they put the 16-foot wide roadway in, and say I build a house, and I want like a 30-foot roadway? This way, two cars can go down the street without side
You
splitting.
would, similar to this, you petition the board.
So then you could proceed east of the roadway to add the extra 16 feet or 14 foot. That's what you're saying?
Yeah, if you wanted to propose that, the board would have to, review it like any other application.
And I'm sorry, I just wanted, I know I'm going back, it just, I didn't have a good connection in the beginning, so I didn't really hear the beginning of what you were saying. But when we asked about ownership of the property, it's whoever's using it?
Yeah, it's not, the paper streets aren't really owned by individual. People have the right to use it that abut it. If you want.
So it's more of a right of way?
It's a right of way, yeah.
Yeah, the adjoining landowners.
Okay, so it's someone that's not a party to it wouldn't be able to use it.
I don't know. You're asking very specific questions. I'll be honest, you're asking like very specific questions and I don't have the answer to all of them. I don't, I'm not an attorney.
We did reach out to the town to find out, to the town attorney, just to ask, to find out these things. And they told us that you were the person that we had to get the answers from. So I'm not trying to be difficult. It was just that they stated that when we asked about the ownership of the property and everything and the liability, we were told that that you were where we would go to get those answers. So I'm not trying to put you on the spot.
If I could jump in, Mrs. Scott, this is Peter Hans. I'm a planning director. I'm in the same office as Matt. And what we have here is it's a 280A application. So yes, it is a paper street. And so what we're doing is we're not saying that this is an abandonment because we know that there is potential future development on the west side of Osgood Place. So what the planning board has the authority to do is determine what is adequate public access to the proposed house and future proposed development. So what Matt, I think, was trying to say is it appears that there's several vacant lots on the west side of Osgood Place that you own. And the closest street that's fronting on Waverly, if that were to be developed, that lot, it would likely have access directly out to Waverly with a driveway that could access out, with a driveway of its own straight out onto Waverly. We know that the lots to the rear, I guess, which are listed as like lots number 69 and 70, if they're deemed to be buildable, they are not losing their road frontage because we're not abandoning this road. If we abandoned this road, we'd be setting you up for a problem because you would no longer have road frontage. And I think that's really what your concern here is, that what's being proposed to be built is a 16-foot wide, what we're calling a driveway. That's what it has the appearance of, but technically it's still a public road. And what the planning board and our highway department and why this thing's been reviewed is they're saying that this 16-foot, although it's not built to town standards, your typical 30-foot wide road with your 10-foot right-of-ways on the side, for 2, possibly 3 homes, we've had other locations in town where this is kind of adequate. The alternative is we abandon everything that's in there. We bring in a 30-foot wide dead-end street. There's a lot more infrastructure. It alters the character of the area now to bring in, all this infrastructure. Whereas what we're saying here is with a 16-foot wide driveway, albeit it'll have to be shared, this builder that's proposing right now, he's not going to have exclusive rights to it. There's going to have to be agreements put in place that ensure that whoever comes in the future, if those lots are deemed to be buildable, they have the same rights and access to that. Most likely it would require some sort of a property owners association with the 2 property owners, because somebody's going to need to plow it, maintain it, that sort of thing. Because in essence, over time, it'll end up being like a private roadway. But you would still have rights to it. That's why we're not we do not want to abandon it.
So even the section that is currently being used by 18 Waverly is inclusive in what you just discussed? Not
The-
abandoned?
It's not abandoned. It is showing up within the right of way. The difficulty, I guess, is that it's been there over 50 years. And, you know, the alternative, I guess, could be, you know, the town could require a full 30-foot wide roadway, which would mean removing the existing driveway and forcing, you know, possibly a side entry garage off of their garage out onto the roadway. But again, we think that's going to have greater effect on your neighborhood and change the character over there, as opposed to just throwing in what looks like another driveway that might serve two homes. And again, we have many easements and shared accesses throughout the town of a similar situation.
Yeah. Their garage does face Osgood. It already
Yes.
does.
No,
Oh.
I'm aware.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought you said the opposite. I apologize.
No.
Thank you for your explanation.
Sure.
Is there anyone else watching virtually who would like to speak on this matter?
On record for that?
Oh, go ahead. Yes.
Oh, this is Walter Scott again. I would just like to restate my my request of having the roadway centered with an equal right of way buffer, not whatever you would call it, each side of the proposed driveway. That's what I'm requesting.
We, Madam Chair, we have a Jennifer Walber asking to speak. Or maybe it's a Mr. Walber.
Okay, please state your name and address for the record.
Yes, my name is Maurice Walder. I live at 65 Harvard Avenue in Smithtown. And I am, Jennifer, this is her phone. I'm her husband. Just, can I speak now or do I have
Yes,
to wait?
please. Yes,
Yep,
please.
okay. I'm actually, I live just behind this lot. And when I bought the house, I had no idea that they were going to be putting homes behind here. And just about every other person that lives around these empty lots is completely not interested in having any more homes squeezed back here. What kind of rights do we have?
This is an application brought to, before us tonight for a person who is going, the applicant is going to be improving this lot and he's going to be building on this lot and they own it, he owns it. And so he's bringing this application before us tonight, which is perfectly legal. And so we're going to move on that tonight.
So there's nothing anybody else can do. When we bought our homes, we had a vision, we had a site of woods. Now I got to have somebody's house directly behind me.
In my backyard.
In my backyard when I had nothing.
Well, the property belongs to somebody and they have a right to build on it because they do own it, just as the same as how your house was before you owned it, before it was built. So
My house was built in 1951 and there wasn't, you know, we weren't trying to squeeze homes around here.
This is my uncle's house.
You know, it's like every time there's an open piece of plot of land around here in Smithtown, you're trying to squeeze a home in it. How many houses do we need? How many cesspools do we need to go into the groundwater? You know, we never had deers around here. You know why we have so many deers around here now is because you're building on all their land. They have nowhere to go.
Well, we're moving on this application tonight, sir.
Mr. Walber, to try to answer your question a little bit, the matter that's before the board tonight is not whether or not the lot is necessarily buildable. It's on what type of access should be provided to these lots. And really what the choice is is whether or not to put in a full road or to do something less substantial like a driveway. This is not like a subdivision application. It's not a that would be subject to building permits and possibly approvals from the Board of Zoning Appeals. But
Well, is that something that had already taken place?
Like, was the groundwater tested, the water table, was that all tested?
I'm not sure that it got to the building permit stage, but we're looking at the 280A application, which is whether or not the access to the property is adequate, and should it be a driveway or should it be a full-fledged 30-foot wide road? That's what the board's looking at. From input from environmental department, highway, they're recommending that this is the less obtrusive as far as access to the site.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to be heard in this matter? And if so, please state your name and address for the record.
The driveway, a 30-foot driveway.
Think Sissy's iPad.
We have a Ronald Reed.
Yeah, Ronald Reed, and then
to unmute.
Okay, please state your name and address for the record.
Lisa and Ronald Reed, 16 Waverly Avenue. So we were at the last meeting in person, and I just basically want to say the way that this meeting tonight was brought about, I just want to express that I disagree with it. We were under the impression that we would be going to the senior center, and very last second today was when I found out it was a Zoom meeting. And it seems as if the builder himself was the one that had to write it on the sign. I just think it's unprofessional and not courteous to the neighbors around how this meeting was brought to our attention. That's all I wanted to say.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to be heard in this matter?
Well, no, well, I don't want to just gloss over that. I mean, is there a process in place for how these meetings are communicated to the surrounding neighbors?
I believe this was already posted once before, right? Wasn't it, Matt?
yeah, there's it's advertised in the Smithtown News, and there's a sign posted on the property.
But the sign on the property, it just said October 6th, and the other information about it being Zoom was only written apparently last night. So
I think it said a virtual meeting, virtual hearing on it. And then it said to contact the Smithtown Planning Department, and then we give you the information to get to the meeting.
Does it say virtual? I don't think it said virtual,
It
but
says virtual.
okay, I'll go back out and look at it, but I definitely didn't see the word virtual on it.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to be heard in this matter?
Yes, Madam Chair, we have somebody with the name Sissy's iPad.
Okay, please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Salvatore Mortorano. I'm Sissy's husband. We're using her iPad. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good evening, everybody. I appreciate what you guys do. It's a hard job. And we'll give you a little background on Osgood Place. The family has owned property in the area for over 3 generations. Many years ago, property was looked to be developed off Osgood Place, and the former administrations had done nothing but demand that Osgood Place be developed as a full road. By letting this builder do what he's doing, he's denying everybody access at the end of the road. And there would have been a house there, and I would personally be living in it today. And we were denied because it was cost inhibitive to put in a full road and utilities for one dwelling. So in the attempt to build one dwelling, this builder is circumventing what used to be a given practice for his own financial gains and denying everybody else the same rights. I think you should deny this application and demand that he put in a full road like every other paper road in Smithtown have been done since I've been living in Smithtown since the early 70s. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to be heard in this matter?
Yeah,
Is there anyone
Yes.
standing by?
Madam Chair, I see a Matt Madaris.
I think the last, someone else wants to speak that next to the gentleman that just spoke. Hold on.
Yeah, the last person.
Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Matt Madaris, and I live at 18 Waverly Avenue, Smithtown. So going to Lisa and Ronnie's point 2 questions ago, there's a lot of confusion with the sign and the time and where this meeting was held. And it was just very, very interesting the way the town / builder, you know, went about this. Last night, the builder came to change the sign himself right around dark, around 6:30, 7 o'clock, right when it got dark. He did not park in front of the sign. He parked a little further down the street, walked the new sign. I asked him what he was doing. He told me not to worry about it. Information was wrong. I spoke to Matt earlier today. The original sign that went up had no time of any meeting on it. It just had a date. How's anyone supposed to know a time? I have a picture of it in my phone. Matt, I will email that to you later. Also, my other question is, if this road is going to be built, how is it going to be the allotted 25 feet from the road? My house is right on the paper road, about 3 feet. So how's that going to work?
Mr. Colado, can you answer that question?
Yeah. When we went to look at the site, I believe it was yesterday, we noticed that somebody wrote that the meeting was at the Senior Citizen Center on it. The town didn't do that, and I don't think the applicant did it. So
I don't think any of the neighbors did it either. So I don't know who did it. But also when the original sign went up, there was no time on it. How's anyone supposed to know what time this meeting is at? And why is the builder coming after dark? He told me he got the sign from the town. He sure didn't get the sign at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock at night last night.
yeah, the picture I took yesterday, it does show 6 p.m.
Okay, that's 24 hours. What's the rule for notice on the meeting?
The sign that the original sign, it says 6 p.m. when I took a picture of it yesterday, and then after I left. What's that? Probably in the afternoon.
Everyone's here, wonderful. What about this road driveway you guys want to put about 3 feet from my house? How's that going to work?
I'm Kathy Madaris. I also live at 18 Waverly. The proposed driveway that was 16 feet is very it's not as obtrusive as the wider, whatever
30-foot road.
30-foot road. That would be more of a very, first of all, you would have a 30-foot road coming off of what's less than, I think, 20 to 25 feet. Waverly is not a very wide road. Also, if you do develop it that wide, my house will literally be 5 feet from that road. Is that allowed? Everybody else, all I hear is 25 feet setbacks, 25 feet, this 25. You're talking now putting a road 5 feet from my house? If this changes?
By the way, we lived here 32 years. Just letting everyone know, 32 years.
When we moved in, that was a driveway. It had gravel in it. That is the only access to my garage, which was built in the early 20s. So this was all grandfathered in, and that was my accessibility to my garage. It was already there when we bought the house. It's nothing that was created. It was there. And again, my house literally sits 5 feet from that road.
Yeah, that's why the petitioner is proposing.
That's what we're saying,
but now everybody else is trying to say,
but we were saying instead of putting the 30-foot wide road
Yes.
Exactly, but we're just stating our case. People are saying they want the paper road, the full paper road, 30-foot road.
Yeah, that's
Anything is gonna
their
be done.
comments.
Right, if anything is gonna be done, the 16th is
Which
less.
sounds like you guys
obtrusive.
already made the decision. I don't know why we even had the meeting. You guys are going through with it, so that's wonderful.
All I'm stating is that a larger road coming off of Small Waverly, it's 5 feet from my house then, that can't be, everybody else, when you talk about 25 feet setback here, 25, you're literally, Len, if it changed, and I'm not saying that it is, I'm just trying to state the fact that this house sits 5 feet from the edge of Osgood Place. So there's no setback then, if it changed. That's
This road is only going to be 16 feet wide, so it won't be near.
But other people have been speaking, saying that it should be wider, it should be this, it should be that. I'm just.
The application before us is for a 16-foot wide road. That's what's before us tonight.
Okay.
Thank you.
And in between, Matt, in between the two parcels on Waverly, the one in question with the driveway and the one next to it, what's the distance between those two houses?
One more time? Sorry.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Let me pull up the map one second.
Okay.
So what's your question again, Tom? Sorry.
What's the difference between the span on that for that property line or that particular house, the one with the driveway? What's the distance between there and the house next to it?
You mean lot 63 and 62?
No, the one that has the one with the driveway in question and the one next to it to the right.
I mean, I don't have it off the top of my head.
Because it looks tight already.
Yeah, it's a narrow lot. It's an older home. It probably was built before zoning.
Matt, can I share a screen and maybe clarify a few things?
Yeah.
Let me see. All right. Number one, I just wanted to go to the posting. So I was out at the site yesterday with one of the planners, and this is the sign that we saw. This was the sign that was provided by this office saying subdivision related matter. A public hearing will be held by the planning board. A virtual public hearing will be held by the planning board on October 6th. Now, the reason we asked the applicant to go repost the sign is because apparently somebody in opposition to the proposal wrote all over the sign. They're the ones that incorrectly wrote meeting held at the Senior Citizen Center. And obviously it wasn't the applicant because in the same writing, it's saying, make your vote heard and stop this. So I doubt the applicant was going to do that. So in an effort to avoid the confusion, we asked the applicant to come in here and basically repost the property with a new sign that was identical to the sign that was there. So that was the first question I just wanted to answer. The second part is, it's hard with the sign because this picture is really focused on the sign rather than the property. But you can see off to the left, you can see the gravel driveway and you can see the nice accessory structure. It's an old garage. It predates. What we're getting at is what we feel if you're going to have to provide access to undeveloped lots in the rear, that it's less obtrusive to do basically a 16-foot wide, what looks like an oversized driveway to the rear. This is what we're trying to do, is protect the character, not force this driveway to be removed. And I think that's what the Medarises are concerned about, because if we did a roadway right down the center of this grass lot, now this driveway, all this gravel would have to be ripped up. The driveway would have to basically go right straight out to the driveway. And it would really have, I believe, a greater effect on that house to the east lot. And that's really why we're trying to do what we feel is more in character of the area, less obtrusive, and environmentally more friendly. It's less pavement than a 30-foot wide road and all the drainage that would be associated with it. I hope that helps answer some of the questions.
And just one of the notes that you had on there, I mean, the virtual meeting has been set for, I think, the past 10 days. It wasn't like it was done last minute.
It's been actually set for the last 2 weeks at
There
least.
you go. Yep. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hans.
Thank you.
Is anybody else present virtual that would like to speak?
Sissy wants to speak.
Let me ask.
Hi, good evening, and I appreciate everybody speaking. My name is Sissy Mortorano. I grew up on Harvard Avenue. My family has celebrated 100 years in this town, and this house was here. I have family members that had wanted to build on Osgood Place. We were told that it's a private road. I keep hearing it being called a road, a driveway, a private road, a private driveway. We have family members that had wanted to build back there, wanted to build also as speculation, and were told that they had to put in curbs, had to put in road, had to bring in water and electric. Now, what has changed that now instead of a private road for over 100 years, this becomes a private road, a private driveway, a driveway? I mean, I have family members that still have a lot behind their home that they can put a TDR back on it and have it as a buildable lot again. So now they won't have access either. So what keeps changing with this? 100 years and you decide, okay, we can put a driveway in, it's no longer a private road. And the town doesn't own the property now? Nobody pays taxes on this? My family paid taxes on their lot for more than 50 years, as long as I can remember. And the other lot that was just purchased, that was another family member. He probably bought that piece of property back in 1940 something and paid taxes on it. So now you pay taxes on your property. You are now have a driveway there, because it's no longer a private road, because now the road somebody wants to make into a driveway going to their own property for speculation. This is just, I'm sorry, this is just keeps changing.
I'll try to answer it a little bit. There is no, on a paper street, there is no ownership. So nobody does pay taxes on a paper street. It's just part of an old filed map. There is no ownership of it. The town doesn't even own it. It's just that it's set aside whenever that map was filed for roadway purposes. So even if it was a driveway, unless abandoned, we're still calling it public access. So that's what we're saying. If there's lots back there, they're still entitled to access. Now, yes, what has changed? Yes, I mean, part of it is highway superintendents. The highway superintendents, they change, they're elected. There's a different way of thinking. Does it make sense always to construct a full width and length roadway that the town has to maintain in perpetuity? Can there be a different way that you look at a typical subdivision from the 50s and 60s, you'd have a 100-foot wide cul-de-sac at the end of the road. So there's a new approach that doesn't always make sense to blitz, half a forest just to put in a turnaround for 2
Okay, but let me just say something. We have a house on Harvard Avenue that had asked the town to abandon the road at one point, and they were denied that. But if this is not a driveway, and it's not a road, and it's not a private road, and it's not a private driveway, then is this a right-of-way? What is this? What is he proposing? A right-of-way? And then everybody else will have access as a right-of-way? Is it on their deed? I mean, whenever anybody needs it?
Yeah, that's what needs to be established here, because it's not being abandoned, so it will not be his only. He will need to continue to provide access to anybody that needs to do that. You talk about the utilities. Yeah, I mean, you still need to bring in water, you still need to bring in electric. Those things haven't gone away. I mean, they're still gonna wanna do that.
And drains and,
He proposed drains.
but like I said, I am very upset because morally and ethically, for 100 years, it was one way, and now all of a sudden, that gets tossed. So morally and ethically, where that just gets out the window. Because one person wants to build, not for themselves, for speculation. So if I'm gonna build for speculation to add more taxes to the town base, then I can do whatever I want. That's what this all seems like it's already a given.
This is a
what I'm
paper
upset
road.
about.
This is a
I
paper
know
road that just
family
gets
members
access.
that approached the town before and were told curbs, road, water.
Anyone who owns property off of this paper street is welcome and entitled to make an application before this department. And they can also build whatever they want to build and come out onto, build a home and come out onto the street. It's going to be a right of way for the use of the people who live, who will be living off of that private right of way. So if you own that property, you can make an application and you can also use that street. That's what this is about. That's what we're doing tonight.
So the property owners that abut this street here will have full access to this.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just, no, it's not okay.
Anyone who owns property off that street is entirely welcome to bring an application before this board. Just to let you know that that's exactly what this applicant is doing right now. They're just, bringing this application that they're entitled to. And if you build a home back there, then you can use that private right of way also.
Madam Chair, there's a Jim Brennan asking to speak.
Okay,
Yes,
sir.
yes, my name is Jim Brennan. I live at 25 Waverly Avenue. I just wanted to call. I figure they're going to be building it anyway. I agree with if the 16 foot. I would hate to see that the people that lived at 18, the Madarises, would have their driveway that's been used for so many years. I've been here over 30 years as well. So I mean, I assume it's going to be done anyway. That 16 foot. At least it's better than having a 30-foot road going to the end of nowhere. So I just wanted to state that.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to be heard in this matter? Are there any further questions?
You got one. Madam Chair, the only person is, I guess Mrs. Scott's asking to speak again.
Okay, Mrs. Scott, welcome to speak again.
Okay, am I unmuted?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, I just wanted to be clear. I wasn't asking for a 30-foot wide road. I was asking that both driveways be condensed into one. That was all I was saying, that and I understand that you're all saying to keep it better in with the neighborhood. So that's why I'm saying it's one next to the other. Why couldn't it just be one? I wasn't looking for 30 feet. I don't want you to think that. I was just asking that one be centered. And that still gives the other property a buffer. And I think it's at 25 feet at that point. That was, I just wanted to be clear about that.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to be heard in this matter? Are there any questions from the board? Okay, so.
I don't see anybody else, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. In the matter of 288 application, Osgood Place, I move that we close the hearing.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Oppose? None. The hearing is closed. And in the matter of the 288 application approval for Osgood Place, I move that we adopt the resolution as read in accordance with the recommendation of the planning department.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None? The motion is adopted. And in the matter of the 288 application, Osgood Place, I move that we approve the performance bond estimate as recommended by the planning department.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None? The motion is adopted. Thank you.
Okay, the next item on the agenda, let me just pull it up 1 second. The next item is a preliminary subdivision. That's a number 1170 map of Coffee Estates in Nesconset. The applicant requests preliminary approval to subdivide a 10.2 acre parcel into 18 single-family lots with 3 cul-de-sacs and a recharge basin. The preliminary subdivision number 1170 map of Coffee Estates is comprised of 1 tax lot. The property has approximately 1,388 feet of road frontage on Southern Boulevard, approximately 314 feet of road frontage on Town Line Road, and 50 feet of road frontage on Blackwell Road. The subdivision is located in the R10 and R15 zoning districts. Majority of the site is in R10 zoning. North of the subdivision is zoned R15 with single-family homes. I just lost my spot. West is east, is zoned R10 with single-family homes, and south across Town Line Road is the town of Islip with single-family homes. There are no existing structures on the property. The subdivision proposes to construct 2 cul-de-sacs, Young Court and Coffee Court, and extend Blackwell Road into a 3rd cul-de-sac. Each cul-de-sac within the subdivision will provide access to 6 single-family dwellings. All 3 cul-de-sacs are between 200 feet and 500 feet, which is required by the subdivision regulations. The southern portion of the subdivision will contain a 1.23 acre recharge basin. Since the applicant is proposing a yield that is less than what is permitted by the zoning ordinance, they are not subject to the Long Island Workforce Housing Act. The topography of the site ranges from 88 feet above sea level to 98 feet above sea level. There are no environmentally sensitive lands on the property. All 18 lots conform to the minimum lot area and frontage requirements of the R10 and R15 zoning district. The applicant is requesting a front yard setback and a side yard setback variance for lot 1 since that lot is split zoned. The planning board has the authority to review these variances at final plat approval. The applicant is proposing to dedicate a 15-foot wide strip of land along Southern Boulevard for road widening purposes. Southern Boulevard's pavement will also be widened by approximately 5 to 8 feet. The planning department recommends the applicant coordinate with the highway department before widening the road. Additionally, due to the pavement widening, the utility poles will need to be shifted to the east. The 3 cul-de-sacs propose a right-of-way radius of 50 feet and a pavement radius of 40 feet. This is substandard in accordance with the subdivision regulations. However, the planning board has approved prior subdivisions with these dimensions since they provide adequate access and turnaround space for large vehicles. Section 248.31B of the subdivision regulations requires a subdivision be clustered because it is adjacent to a county highway. The planning department recommends this subdivision be clustered by placing a 20-foot wide conservation easement along Southern Boulevard. The conservation easement shall be as depicted on the tree preservation and land clearing plan dated July 23rd, 2021. Pursuant to section 239N of general municipal law, this subdivision was referred to the Suffolk County Planning Commission. The Suffolk County Planning Commission considers this application to be a matter of local determination and offers comments for the board's consideration. These comments are attached to this memo. The engineering department has reviewed the preliminary subdivision and has found it acceptable, subject to the comments in their memorandums dated December 22nd, 2020 and August 31st, 2020. These are attached to this memo. The highway department has provided the following comments. 1, the highway department would prefer not to have 3 cul-de-sacs in a small 10-acre subdivision. 2, Blackwell Drive can be designed as a through street. And 3, the cul-de-sacs are substandard in size. The traffic safety department has reviewed the subdivision and recommends traffic control items for the performance bond, which can be addressed at final plat approval. The Department of Environment and Waterways has reviewed the tree preservation and land clearing plan and has found it acceptable. They recommend a secret negative declaration. They also recommend conditions of approval related to land clearing and site preparation work that can be conditioned at the time of final plat approval. The planning department has reviewed the preliminary subdivision and has found it acceptable. The planning department recommends no access to Southern Boulevard for lots 1, 6, 7, 12, 13, and 18. The following resolution is recommended by the Department of Environment and Waterways pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act. Whereas the planning board has considered the seeker recommendation from the Department of Environment and Waterways and has indicated that any potential adverse environmental impact associated with said project does not rise to the level of significance which would require a preparation of an environmental impact statement. Now therefore be it first resolved that the planning board hereby declares itself lead agency on this matter and finds that this matter is subject to the State Environmental Quality Review Act and is classified as an unlisted action pursuant to SECRA. Second, resolved that the planning board hereby issues a secret negative declaration determination of non-significance and EIS is not necessary in the matter of the application for subdivision approval by Coffee Management LLC for number 1170 map of Coffee Estates for the following reasons. A, the proposal does not involve the destruction or physical modification of any unique or highly valuable environmental or cultural resources as identified and are regulated by the Environmental Conservation Law of the State of New York or Smithtown Town Code. B, the parcel does not appear to contain any high groundwater conditions, poor soil properties, or unmanageable slopes, which would impose severe environmental development constraints upon the subject proposal. The revised tree preservation and land clearing plan submitted by the applicant dated July 23rd, 2021, increases the areas of the conservation easements and the number of trees to be preserved. Such preservation shall be ensured by the placement of snow fencing or orange mesh construction fencing along all limits of clearing and around any individual trees to be preserved within the clearing areas. This shall be done to the satisfaction of the Environmental Protection Director, and said fencing shall be maintained in place by the applicant until the completion of all land clearing and grading activities at the subject parcel. D, the small size and nature of the proposal mitigate against a significant adverse impact upon the environment. And E, the proposal appears to be consistent with the planned use of the parcel and compatible with neighboring land uses. The Planning Department offers the following resolution for the board's consideration. Whereas the planning board has considered the request of Coffee Management LLC to subdivide 10.2 acres into 18 single-family lots with 3 cul-de-sacs and a recharge basin. Now therefore be it first resolved that the planning board hereby approves the preliminary subdivision number 1170 map of Coffee Estates subject to the following conditions. 1, the subdivision shall be clustered by placing a 20-foot conservation easement along Southern Boulevard in accordance with the tree preservation and land clearing plan dated July 23rd, 2021. Two, there shall be no access to Southern Boulevard for lots 1, 6, 7, 12, 13, and 18. This shall be noted on the final map. 3, the applicant shall comply with the engineering department's comments in their memorandums dated December 22nd, 2020 and August 31st, 2020. The applicant and second resolve that this preliminary approval shall be valid for a 6-month period to expire on April 6, 2022.
Thank you, Matt. Is there anyone representing the applicant who would like to speak on this matter? Please state your name and address for the record.
Madam Chair, I'm trying to see if
I'm gonna guess Vinny's 5433470.
yeah, that's what I'm guessing here.
Pat, this was the application that was reworked, right? Remember, I think they had it coming along the entire roadway, and then they had this large buffer, and then they had the individual, like another street behind the street.
Yeah, this was filed.
Oh, there we go.
It's Vincent Tremarco here. I've been unmuted.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Tremarco. Would you like to speak on this?
Yes, we've read over the recommendations of the planning department and asked the board to accept those recommendations and move forward with the preliminary approval.
Thank you. Is there anyone else watching virtually who would like to speak on this matter?
Madam Chair, we have a Mike Squarzelli.
Okay, sir, please state your name and address for the record.
Hello, my name is Mike Squarzelli. I live at 15 Lawrence Drive, Nesconset. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
So I live on the street Lawrence Drive that directly lines up with the lot. And I live directly across from the Blackwell Road where you're proposing court to go. And I feel very strongly that this is a bad move. You know, this is a quiet neighborhood here. You're talking about increased traffic, construction that's going to last years. You're talking about taking out large amounts of trees that help to keep the noise levels down from Southern Boulevard. You know, this is a quiet, close-knit neighborhood, and you're talking about expanding it for, you know, clearly profit motive. You know, I don't see the purpose of building this property on this land, and I think that it's a mistake that would be irreversible to our community.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who would like to be heard on this matter?
Hold on, let me get out of the share screen so you can see.
There's a Sergia Coffee. I'll ask to unmute.
Hello, I'd like to point out to Mr. Scarelli. My family has owned that property.
Can you just say your name and
Hi,
address
my
for the
name is
record?
Sergeia Coffee. I live at upstate New York, 10 Catskill Way. My grandparents bought that property in the early 1900s. I understand Mr. Scarelli has built his house behind that property. But, you know, why would he think that that property would never be developed, number one? Number two, when we brought this to the community and we sent out letters to the community years ago when we first started this plan, the community overwhelmingly preferred that type of development to a bunch of apartment buildings, which was the alternative that was being proposed. So I think this is going to be a beautiful neighborhood, Mr. Scarelli. I think it's going to be as nice as your homes, and I think your neighbors are going to be wonderful. And, you know, it's going to be just as quiet. Yes, there's going to be some period of building, but that is inevitable if we were going to sell the land. So I hope you can see it in that manner.
In all due respect, ma'am, you know, you don't live in this community, so.
Please state your name and address for the record if you'd like to speak.
Hello?
Hello, let's talk to the board, not to each
Can you
other,
please-
please.
Yeah, you guys gotta
Can you
address.
please state your name and address for the record and address the board?
Hold on,
Okay,
hold
I'll-
on. Mike, you already spoke. This is a public hearing. You addressed the board. You had your chance. Sergi had her chance. Is there anybody else that wants to speak? And if the board wants to allow people to speak a second time, they can do that. But this is not a back and forth. It's not a debate. It's a public hearing. You make your comments and that's it.
And the way to, I know there's some, you know, people's concerns like regarding traffic. Yeah, it's you know, it's 18 homes, but the way this is set up, it's metered in a nice pattern because you have 6 coming out on one way, and then you have the other 6 that are spaced apart coming out on the other side. So you don't have 18 homes all dumping out in one particular area.
Okay,
I can respond to that, but I guess I'm not allowed.
You can just we have to let everybody else speak first.
Is there anybody else who would like to speak on this matter?
Madam Chair, I'm not seeing any other hands up.
Okay,
Russell Galata has their hands up.
okay, please state your name and address for the record.
Hold on. You gotta unmute them and then they gotta, there you go. You guys are unmuted.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Patricia Cragen. I live at 24 Lawrence Drive. I back right up against the woods. I met Mrs. Coffey 50 years ago when our Parkway Woods development was developed here. And that spring, we moved in December. That spring in May, when the rain started, all of a sudden my backyard became a lake. The way the property of Mrs. Coffey's estates is higher, the grade is higher than my backyard. And I understand that you're probably going to try and grade it so everything goes to the sump. But I'm a little concerned that we're further up, that the water is going to land in my backyard again and possibly flood my basement. There's a number of homes here, 3 of us, 4 of us in a row, that are lower than the woods behind us. So I'm concerned that this is really going to be looked into so we don't have any problems. And the only other thing too is all the animals and mice and whatever in the woods, is there going to be something done so that they don't start invading us as the land is being ripped up?
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else who would like to be heard in this matter?
Madam Chair.
Madam Chair, it's Vincent Tremarco. Should I wait for the gentleman on Lawrence to speak before I comment?
Yes.
Okay.
Did you
Would
want
like
to? No, you can. You want to ask? Do you want to let Mr. Scorzelli speak again?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
There you go, Mike.
Yes, sir. Would you like to speak again? Please state your name and address for the record again, please.
Thank you again. My name is Mike Scorzelli. I'm at 15 Lawrence Drive. I was going to say before that, you know, I understand Miss Coffey's point that, you know, I agree it would be better to have homes there than apartments, but it doesn't change the fact that, you know, the more we develop in our community, the more it changes our community. And what we like about Smithtown is that it's not Nassau County. And I'm sure being upstate and not a part of this community, she could appreciate that, you know, why we wouldn't want a place to live in a place that's overdeveloped. And to the person who spoke before about saying that the way that the property is going to be laid out to decrease traffic. I mean, if you're adding 18 homes to the town, that's going to be another 18 homes that are added that are just adding traffic to our town. And we continue to develop our town where, you know, you just put in building homes over on 111 and 347. I mean, it's like every time I turn around, it's more development. Right down the road on Old Nichols, I don't think it's Smithtown property, but they're building apartment buildings down there. You know, it's the more you continue to develop, the less we lose of our community. And, you know, it's really a shame, and there's no going back. And I hope this planning board can really appreciate that and take these things into consideration before they make these decisions. You know, I listened for an hour of an entire neighborhood complaining that they don't want a driveway put in. And to be quite honest, it seemed like you guys pretty much just blew them off entirely. So, you know, I hope that you are taking my perspective into consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Mr. Tremarco, would you like to speak?
Yeah, just for a moment, Madam Chair. As Mrs. Coffey indicated a while ago, the original proposal, forget about apartments, which are not permitted. There was talk about doing apartments, but that would have required a change of zone. And for one, the Coffeys didn't want to do anything like that, and they wanted to maintain it as residential. And the second thing, you might remember the first proposal, which came out of a different planning department with a different director, showed like it's hard to describe, a half circle with houses all the way around it. And if you want to talk about what it looked like, it really did look like a Queens development. So we try to put our heads together and come up with something that is truly residential in character. And to speak to the last gentleman who lives on Lawrence Road, the highway department wanted initially, and they still make that recommendation, to run from Lawrence Drive, I believe it's Blackwell Road, straight through to Southern Boulevard. That certainly would have created a real traffic problem, and it would have become a cut through. So we decided to do 3 cul-de-sacs, one ending up on the road ending up on Lawrence Road, and 2 other cul-de-sacs, which substantially mitigates traffic coming out on Southern Boulevard. And also to speak to the drainage issue, as the planning board well knows, the engineering department will scrutinize this map to make sure that all of the water stays on our property and is directed either by catch basins, or in this case, there is a sump which will direct all the water to that sump. We are not allowed and would not be permitted to have water flowing on anybody else's property. That's very strictly enforced by Smithtown Engineering. So we asked the board for its favorable consideration. We think this is the best map that could have been supplied and proposed to the planning board. As you can see, it was clustered. We left some areas of forestation on Town Line Road, and we put a sump in, which will also be a mitigation from the traffic on Town Line Road. So again, we ask for the board's favorable consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tramarko. Are there any questions from the board?
I have one for the gentleman that lives on Lawrence. He has to remember that the people have the right to develop their property, and it's our job to protect their rights also.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Marchese. All right, in the matter of number 1170, map of Coffee Estates, I move that we close the hearing.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None? The hearing is closed. In the matter of number 1170, map of Coffee Estates, I move that we adopt the secret negative declaration as recommended by the planning department.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None? The motion is adopted. And in the matter of subdivision preliminary approval, number 1170, map of Coffee Estates, I move that we adopt the resolution as read in accordance with the recommendation of the planning department.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None? The motion is adopted. Thank you.
Thank you, planning board.
Thank you.
The next item is the minutes from the September 8th
Yeah,
hearing.
I move that we adopt the September 8th, 2021 minutes of the planning board.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None? The motion is adopted. And I move to adjourn this meeting.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
This meeting is adjourned.